Hello, and welcome back to my channel. I'm coming to you today from Mackinac Island, and just a little bit ago, I was down at the American Fur Company store, which unfortunately it was closed today. But at this location, an accident led to two men from very different backgrounds working together and allowing for a great scientific discovery in the early 1800s. One of these men was a highly educated one, a former teacher, a trained physician, and the other was an illiterate voyager who worked hard physical job until an accident changed his life. This accident would lead to one of the greatest studies of the human body. Let's learn more about it. Alexis Bigoden dit St. Martin was an ordinary man and likely never realized that he would go down in medical history. He was born in Canada, and like many young men from New France, he became a voyageur. On June 6, 1822, when he was 20 years old, he found himself on Mackinac Island, working as an indentured servant for the American Fur Company. One day, while waiting in a line, he was accidentally shot at close range with a musket, probably by himself. The charge of the shot left a gaping hole in the upper left side of his abdomen. The U.S. surgeon stationed at nearby Mackinac Island was summoned to treat the wound. Once Dr. William Beaumont reached the wounded voyageur, he cleaned it as best he could. The next day, although St. Martin was still alive, his condition had worsened, so Beaumont bled him, as was the standard practice at the time, yet still did not expect the young man to live. At the time, the vast majority of gut shot victims died. The shot had blown off fragments of his abdominal muscles, broke a few ribs, and entered his stomach cavity. Dr. Beaumont continued treating St. Martin and closely monitored his progress. Not much was known about digestion at the time, and St. Martin's unique wound gave Beaumont an opportunity to research as well as heal. For 17 days, any food St. Martin ate reemerged from the hole in the stomach. Finally, the food began to stay in the wounded man's stomach, and his bowels returned to normal as well. Months passed, and the wound continued to heal itself with the help of multiple surgical procedures to remove clothing debris, duck shot, and other foreign material that persisted. Through all this, the edge of the hole in St. Martin's stomach attached itself to the edge of the hole in the skin, creating a permanent hole or fistula in the stomach. Beaumont used this as an opportunity for a series of experiments, initially with the patient's best interest in mind. Despite all of his healing after months of treatment, it was determined that Martin could no longer work at such a physically laborious job as a voyageur and would need some community support. He was not a local, so island leaders considered sending him back to Quebec. Dr. Beaumont had other ideas. He had St. Martin sign a contract to allow Beaumont to perform experiments. St. Martin would also work as a servant to Beaumont, chopping wood, carrying things around, and whatever else the doctor needed. He suffered little or no inconvenience from his wound, though some of the experiments caused St. Martin some discomfort. The most common experiments for Dr. Beaumont consisted of the surgeon dangling food tied to a string into St. Martin's stomach through the hole, then pulling it out and observing what had been digested. These experiments continued on and off for the next decade, with over 200 being performed during that time. In early 1825, Beaumont was transferred to Fort Niagara, and St. Martin went with him. However, in September of that same year, St. Martin ran away to Canada. Since Beaumont still had him under contract of indentured servitude, he had him brought back. From 1826 to 1827, Beaumont was stationed at Fort Howard in Green Bay, then sent to the Jefferson Barracks in St. Louis in 1828, where he stayed for a while. St. Martin continued to be a handyman, and the experiments continued. These experiments now included examining how temperature, exercise, and even emotions affect digestion. Beaumont and St. Martin eventually parted ways. In 1834, St. Martin wrote to Beaumont from Berthier, Canada, telling him that he would not be returning. Beaumont tried time and time again to get St. Martin to move to St. Louis, but the former voyageur refused. A likely reason that St. Martin was less than enthusiastic about returning to St. Louis is that he had married Marie Genevieve Joly, who seems to not have approved of the experiments, nor her husband being asked to follow Beaumont around wherever he was stationed. After the experiments, Beaumont published what he learned. In 1858, the man now known as the father of gastric physiology slipped on an ice-covered step and died in 1853. Alexis St. Martin died in 1880 in Quebec, and his family, fearing grave robbers, delayed burying the body. They wanted the body to begin to decompose so that medical men would not be able to do an autopsy on him against their wishes. He was eventually buried in Joliet, Quebec. There have been many times throughout history where accidents have contributed to scientific advancements, and the story of Dr. Beaumont and Alexis St. Martin is just one of them. Despite thoughts regarding the relationship between doctor and patient being unethical, at the time this was not unusual. St. Martin did agree to sign a contract, and he was given room, board, and paid a small stipend for being a handyman and allowing the experiments. Even today, patients are paid or volunteer to take new medications or have new procedures done to them for the advancement of healthcare. Did Beaumont take advantage of a situation? Probably. Did St. Martin benefit from the care he received that first years following the accident without making any healthcare payments? Probably. At any rate, the medical field gained invaluable information regarding digestion, and both men will always be remembered for this advancement.